Hello, everybody. Welcome. Welcome. Thank you. Hello. Welcome to the 2024 Job Creation and Retention Trust Annual Public Meeting held on November 19th, 2024. My name is Annika Van Eaton. I'm one of the managing co-trustees of the board, and I'm really excited to see you all here today. Excited to see the folks on Zoom today. I call this meeting to order at 6:42 p.m. Tonight's meeting is going to be conducted here in person and then also on Zoom with the OWL, which will be recorded and is going to be public record. So Zoom attendees, we ask that you please mute your microphone when not speaking. And I am now going to ask the board members to confirm they're in attendance in alphabetical order. Thomas Bent.
Present, John Bent, I'm the business representative.
We're gonna do.
Oh, I'm sorry, okay.
We're gonna do
See, I read the email.
We're just calling a meeting to order and then we'll go through the agenda here. Vicky Coyce. Present. Silvana Dinka.
Present at Zoom.
All right, on the Zoom. Jim Hatchie.
Present.
Jacob Luria.
Present.
Wilfred Ba. Rachel Ned Carney. Present. Annika Van Eaton. Present. Rand Wilson.
Here and accounted for.
Present. So we have a quorum. I will now give an overview of tonight's agenda. You can hit it to the next slide, please. Awesome, thank you. So we're going to go over some history, an overview of who is the Jobs Creation and Retention Trust Board, what is the jobs linkage fee, an explanation of that, our process as a board that we undertook to prioritize investments, an overview of the past year's investments, and then our current investments and obligations. So a big picture of our spending as it's been and our plans for the future. Then we'll have a space for clarifying questions and then community prioritization discussion, public feedback. This is something that the board really values. We're really thrilled that you're here and on Zoom, and we really look forward to hearing your insights, perspectives for what Somerville needs. So thank you all for joining us tonight. We are now going to go through the next slide, please. Okay. Who are the Job Creation and Retention Trust Board of Trustees? So the purpose of the trust is to assist in the creation and maintenance of employment and career opportunities within and near the city of Somerville for the residents of the city of Somerville. The board consists of 9 trustees, 3 of which are ex officio and 6 are appointed. The 3, I think we can go to the next slide. Yeah, thank you. The 3 ex officio members are the mayor or their designee, the superintendent of Somerville Public Schools or their designee, the president of the city council or their designee, and then the other 6 are the 2 Somerville residents, 2 representatives of local nonprofit organizations, and 2 local business representatives. And so now I'll call on each board member one by one to introduce themselves and the seat that they hold.
As I said earlier, I'm Tom Bent, the owner of Bent Electrical Contractors here in Somerville. We're a union shop, and I am the business representative.
I'm Vicky Coyce. I'm one of the resident members, and I'm also a co-managing trustee, so I do whatever Annika tells me to do. I work at Corporation for Skilled Workforce, and I've been in workforce development for 25 years.
Silvana?
Hi, my name is Silvana Dinka, and I'm a resident of City of Somerville.
I'm Jacob Luria, sort of a resident for 14 years, but serving in a business seat here. I founded and oversee a company called N1 Health that helps Medicaid plans give more benefits to their members.
Jim?
Hi, I'm Jim Hashie. I'm the representative for Somerville School System, and I am the Director of Career Technical Education at high school.
And Rachel? Yeah.
Hi, everyone. I'll try to speak up. I'm Rachel Ned Carney. I'm the Director of Economic Development for the City of Somerville. And my team includes a whole group of wonderful folks doing a mix of supports for our small businesses, our business environment in general, and then, of course, our workforce development team, which includes William, our staff to the JCRP.
Thank you. Fran?
My name is Rand Wilson, longtime resident since about 1980 of Somerville, and I am a union organizer. Leave it at that.
So Rand represents one of the nonprofit seats, and I represent the other nonprofit seat.
Sorry.
No worries, we're good. My name is Ivy Eaton. I work for US Fire. We're a college affordability organization, is financial aid advising. I previously was at the Boston PIC, the city's workforce development board. So we've introduced ourselves. Just for the folks in the room, every time I look here, it's how I am looking at the folks on Zoom. And so now to cover some other logistical pieces, I will pass it over to William Blackmer, staff liaison to the JCRT, to discuss jobs linkage funding.
Thank you, Annika. So as Annika mentioned, my name is William Blackmer. I serve as the liaison to the JCRT. I am also the workforce development coordinator with the city of Somerville on Rachel's team, working on economic development for the city. So I'm here to introduce jobs linkage funding, which is the funding vehicle that the JCRT uses to make investments. A little bit about jobs linkage funding is that this fee was first approved by the city council via a zoning amendment back in December of 2017. And the jobs linkage fee is a fee that is applied to commercial development projects over 15,000 square feet, with the purpose of providing and enhancing employment opportunities for Somerville residents. The fee was initially set at $2.46 $2.46 per square foot over 15,000 square feet, and is adjusted annually based on the consumer price index. The current rate for 2024 for the jobs linkage fee is $2.99 per square foot. And you can see the annual adjustment there for the last year has been 6 cents. So the JCRT board is the board that is entrusted with managing these funds. The declaration of trust is the guiding document that outlines how the JCRT can spend these funds. And it outlines 11 points here, which I'll read out for you. So development and creation of job training and skill development opportunities for Somerville residents, outreach to identify populations facing barriers to employment, tools and software to identify and assess residents' skills and match residents with available local jobs, equipment and other capital costs related to nonprofit and public job training and education, seed money for new programs or organizations, high school and career technical education programs. Next slide. To assist employers in improving high road business practices with innovative models such as worker-owned co-ops, for professional development and training for nonprofit and education providers, for capacity building, for research to determine other appropriate uses of the trust, and finally, for other programs and projects that assist in creation and maintenance of employment opportunities for Somerville residents in and near Somerville. So to date, the JCRT fund has generated over $5.4 million. This chart shows contributions to the JCRT by fiscal year. And since the generation of funds is dependent on new commercial development in Somerville, you can see that the trust has received varying amounts of funding each fiscal year. The majority of the current funds were received in fiscal year 2020, 2022, and 2023. So you can see those as the green, the darker blue, and kind of the greenish yellow color on the end there. And then smaller amounts, smaller contributions are received in fiscal year 19 and fiscal year 24. And then we also have 2 years so far where we have not received fees. That was not received contributions, that was in FY 21, and then currently for FY 25, we have some items pending that we'll be talking about, but that's currently 0 for FY 25. So next slide, please. So this slide the purpose is to give you a picture of what the projected funding for the trust is looking like. So we are expecting for the trust to be receiving approximately 2.7 million in contributions from projects in the coming year. These are projects that have already contributed the first half of their payment and are close to receiving certificate of occupancy. So we feel very strongly that those funds will come in. After those projects, it's important to note that there's been a significant slowdown in starts on new projects, and as a result, the trust is not expecting to receive additional contributions beyond this 2.7 million for at least the next few years. So this is really kind of the dollar figure that we're looking at tonight and moving forward in thinking, you know, what can we invest this in, and how far do we want to stretch 2.7 million? So with that, I will pass it over to Vicky Coitz, and she is going to speak about the investment prioritization process.
All right, thank you, William. On the next slide, it just gives a little overview of what our process is. So since our last annual meeting, which was on November 1st of last year, the board has been making investments based on feedback from that meeting, community members who attended that. Tonight, we'll give you more investment on our past investments, as well as hear feedback from you all on where we should be spending that 2.7 million that we'll have next year and in the following couple of years. At our next JCRT meeting, which will be in December, we'll use that feedback to adjust any priorities that we've got now. And then after that, we'll release requests for proposals because we need to do that for any funding amount that's over $10,000 in order to have a fair and competitive process. And then the final step is after we receive proposals from the request for proposals, we review those and then issue funding and then terms of grants and contracts. So that's kind of what our process is. And just to let you know what kind of our strategy is for the funding that we've made to date. In 2018, the city of Somerville had a talent equity playbook written. And the folks who worked on that really found 4 main strategies that are important for workforce development in Somerville going forward. And we use this framework as our strategy framework for making our investments. So all of our investments are sort of mapped against each of these strategies to make sure that we've got a nice, comprehensive, diverse set of strategies. So the first one is to build a coordinated system of education and training services that ensures Somerville youth and adults are able to achieve their career goals. We do spend quite a bit of funding on education and training in this strategy area. Strategy 2 is to position Somerville as a national leader in employee engagement practices. So this is all of our job quality work, working with employers to try to ensure that there are good jobs for people, and we're not just focusing on training to get into jobs. The third strategy is to build a full suite of experiential learning opportunities for Somerville youth and adults. So in this category, you can think of apprenticeships and internships or those hands-on learning experiences that go really well with education and training. And then the fourth strategy is to develop resiliency responses to the future of work. So we do things like, digital literacy in this category. So when we think about what is the future of work, what are the future of skill requirements, that's what falls into this category. Where's work going? It could include AI someday with Jacob Lurie's company and expertise on AI. So those are our strategies, and now I'm going to turn it over to Tom Bent, who's going to talk a little bit about our past year's investments, so you can see where we've been.
Great, thanks, Vicki. We are very proud to share that, over 950 people have been served between adult education programming, workers' rights training, industry-specific job training programs, and professional development opportunities for social service providers. And, you know, you can see up here how it breaks down, you know, 850 for adult ed, 255 for workers' rights, 100 for industry-specific job training, 22 social service providers, so that adds up to the 950 individuals served over the past few years. And then on the next slide, additionally, the JCRT has just distributed more than $321,000 in student and resident support via COVID-19 emergency grants to nonprofits and innovative student support stipends. These stipends provided funds for basic needs to participants to support their ability to persist through skill building opportunities. Our innovative approach to provide financial assistance that extends beyond the cost of attendance to cover these needs, including transportation, basic living expenses, has since been replicated by the Haley Driscoll administration's Workforce Skills Fund launched this fall. So once again, Somerville leads the way. But you know, again, it's how it was broken up. 100,000 during COVID, and that was basically the year that we started. So we had to go from what we thought was going to be a classroom-based model to online. So we were learning like everybody else, but we got through it, and we got a lot of people into the program those first few years. Then we had over 221,000 student stipend supports, which we felt, listening back to the nonprofits that were working with us, they came back and said, these stipends are very important so that people can actually take the time to actually go to class. And whether they use it for daycare or whatever, you know, whatever they needed it for, we felt it was very important. We feel like that's been very successful. So, and then that adds up to the 321,000. Great. Next, you're gonna hear about the JCRT funded programs.
Thanks, Tom. So the three major investment areas of the JCRT are adult education, industry-specific job training, and wage theft and workers' rights training. So the first category, adult education, this provides residents with important skills needed to advance their careers, and it addresses 3 of the talent equity playbook strategies. So adult education includes contextualized English classes for speakers of other languages, meaning English classes that are for specific careers, adult basic education or high school equivalency courses, preparing residents for high school diploma or GED, digital literacy training resources, and with these programs, stipends for participants. As you can see here, the majority of the participants were in, these are our outcomes. So 580 participants received these adult education services. And then the majority of those participants continued their education or career development at scale or some of the community colleges or other institutions in Greater Boston. Now I can move to the next slide, please. All right. The second major category of our investments has been in industry-specific job training programs. So these investments support Somerville's strategies of providing a coordinated system of job training opportunities that incorporate hands-on and experiential learning. They equip residents with the skills that they need for jobs and industries that we know are high demand in the Greater Boston area. So far, the trust has invested in programs for residents in banking and finance, biomedical careers, building maintenance and clean energy, cannabis careers,
I taught that.
information. Rand. Information technology. And then all of these programs included stipends. And then there was also an element for some with quarry expansion services. So over 100 residents were trained in these high demand industries, and outcomes include over 70 of the residents have attained better jobs. We get reports from this, and we've seen that an average wage gain for the residents of almost $9 an hour. And then the last piece, the third major category was wage theft and workers' rights trainings. And this is something that has helped participants understand their rights and protections as workers, combat wage theft, educate their peers on these topics, and receive support in navigating workplace issues. So this investment supports strategy 2 of the talent equity playbook to position Somerville as a leader in employee engagement practices. And our outcomes here detail the over 250 Somerville residents who trained in Know Your Rights workshops, graduates of Leadership Institute, and workplace issue cases resolved or referred by folks who are running the workers' rights training. And so with that, I'm going to pass it back to Vicki, managing co-trustee here, to go over our current investment.
See, I told you I knew what to tell you.
Great.
So, yeah, currently, we're investing in 6 major areas, and they're very similar in many ways to the funding that we have previously invested, because once we find good training providers and good partners, we like to continue to support them to do their great work. So the first category of grants is contextualized English as a second language or other language. And in that category, we are funding Bunker Hill Community College, as well as the Somerville Center for Adult Learning Experiences, SCALE, the adult education provider here in Somerville. And these programs are scheduled to provide that contextualized ESOL within the context of an industry to 275 Somerville residents over the next year. The second category is around the mental health training for, bless you. Mental health training for staff of social service providers. So that includes adult education providers, workforce development, and human services. And that project is called Trauma and Resilience Somerville. And we're currently training a group of folks from the nonprofit sector here. And the training will run until June of 2025. So it's about a year-long training program on different topics around mental health, trauma, and resilience. The third category is around the coordination, the data collection, and that is our very own William Blackburn. So we generate a lot of work with these investments, with the RFPs, with reviewing them, with all the outreach to the community. So we feel it's only fair that we do fund part of William's salary to staff us on that. And it's so important that we funded this position through fiscal year 2028. So it's not a year by year thing. We definitely have some job security for William. The fourth category is around the post-secondary success program. And this is funded through June of 2025. And this program supports students after they graduate from high school. And the first cohort of students was started in June of 2023, and the program has served 73 low-income Somerville Public School students in transitioning to post-secondary education opportunities, whether that be at a community college, a four-year college, a job training program, whatever best fits that student. So that was a great program, and we have continued to fund it through JCRT funds. The fifth category is that industry-specific job training program. So this has been kind of the theme of our investments, basically since the beginning. And so we're funding, Just a Start, Perscolas, and Mass Hire Metro North Workforce Board to provide a variety of trainings in very specific industries that are targeted. So we know that the student is getting the information that they really need to get a good job. And the industry-specific areas are IT, clean energy, maintenance and construction, and biotechnology. We focused on those areas because we've done our research and our homework, and we've looked at the data, and we know where the jobs are in demand in Somerville and our surrounding area, so that we know that there's demand for these types of jobs. And then the final category is a professional development fund for adult education and workforce development practitioners. We want to make sure that our adult education and workforce practitioners are using the latest curriculum, the latest models for teaching students, the ones that evidence shows work the best. And so we wanted to set aside some funding to make sure that there was professional development support for them to go to conferences, to attend a training program, to get some sort of improvement in their skills in order to be the best for the education training that we're funding. So those are our current investments. And then on the next slide, we have a few areas that we have set aside funding for, but we haven't put out requests for proposals yet. The first one is the Child Care Career Advancement Initiative. So we put out a request for proposals for this last year to the tune of $300,000. That was the exact same year that the state of Massachusetts put out a bunch of money related to childcare. And so we actually didn't have very many people applying to our measly funding because the state had put out a lot of support for that. So we are still holding that money, and we think that, either in 2025 or 2026, there might be a better opportunity to issue the request for proposals for childcare providers. The next category is called the Good Municipal Jobs Training Program, and this actually came, God bless you.
Thank you.
This idea actually came out of our public meeting from last year, okay? So we definitely do listen to folks, and I want to make sure I get my talking points right on this one. So we've set aside $400,000 for this program, and it really focuses on training folks for good jobs with the city of Somerville. And we're really hoping to get some applications for the Department of Public Works, because we know that there's a lot of openings in that department, and we know that there's some really good jobs that have good wages. So the timing of the program is still being developed and will involve input from the union representing the Department of Public Works. And we're just anticipating that we'll get this program started after the contract is in place. It's being negotiated right now. So that money's set aside. We also have money set aside for what we're calling the Job Quality Human Resources Training for Somerville small businesses and entrepreneurs. And this falls into the category of ensuring that our small businesses in Somerville know what good quality jobs are and know what human resources practices are. Because our small businesses, they're focused on creating whatever they're creating. They don't have an HR department. And so we want to make sure that they're not getting any hot water by not following the appropriate HR requirements. But at the same time, we're going to make sure that they also know what good quality jobs are and how to ensure that they're offering good quality jobs. 2 years ago, we put out an RFP for $81,000 to try to get some programming in this area, and we did not get any quality applications that we could fund. And so put your thinking caps on and help us figure out how to fund this part of our work to the tune of $81,000. And then finally, we have set aside for money for financial literacy, $250,000. And we've just been overworking William so much that he hasn't been able to get the RFP out yet, but it will be coming out very soon. So those are kind of our current funding. That was a lot of information. So now is the opportunity to ask any clarifying questions. If you have a question here in the room, just raise your hand. You have about 2 minutes to ask your question. We've also got folks on Zoom. Hello, folks on Zoom. So if you've got a question, just raise your digital hand using the reaction box. And we have somebody staffing the computer, and we'll try to be fair and go back and forth between online and in the room. And Jim, there was a question.
First, this is fabulous.
Well, thank you. He says this is fabulous.
So you got to say that again, this is fabulous.
He says this is fabulous.
I'm here as a resident, I live a few blocks away from here, on Moore Street, right behind Angela's Pizza. So it was easy for me to get here. I had never heard about JCRT before, despite knowing a couple of people who are on this board. Because of course, right, there are lots of things to know about the city. Wonderful, wonderful. My question is, looking at what you're doing around strategy 1, around training, and strategy 4, around resilience for the changing jobs. I'm wondering, to what extent do any of the programs you funded focus around durable skills training? What used to be called soft skills.
Yeah. So that is one component that we include in all of the request for proposals that we put out. We've got sort of a list of requirements that in addition to doing the industry specific training, you also need to provide workforce readiness, skills development for participants, the wraparound support services, career exploration, and then the stipend. So some of that will be built into that workforce readiness, but I think that's a really good point too, to maybe focus a specific set of funding on some of those durable skills. Some of them will also be in the mental health training. So a lot of how to get along with people, how to treat people with respect. So that group is not funding the participants directly, but they are funding or training the teachers and the support service providers who will be able to funnel that into their own education programs.
So relationship skills, communication, emotion identification, emotion management, competence and application.
Exactly.
Is that defined? Are those durable skills defined in what's put out, or just kind of listed as a category?
Yeah, how much detail do we go into?
I would say that they're listed with examples of the types of skills. In many of the programs that we fund, they are also working with other funding sources, so a lot of them are inherently already incorporating those kinds of things into it, but I think it's a category that's ever changing, ever evolving, so it's kind of, you know, we will list examples and say, and more, or and whatever else you're already doing.
Thank you for that suggestion.
You know, sometimes it could be as simple as, it would, used to be, you know, when I was 15, the first thing I wanted to do was get my driver's license, right? That's not how it is anymore, you know, but for a lot of jobs today, especially starter jobs, driving is a requirement, you know? So we've even worked with the high school to, you know, have them talking to the students in the sophomore, the junior and senior years about, you know, especially with the CTE program, you know, I'm chair of the business advisory up there. And one of the things that we're hearing back from the contractors was, hey, these kids don't have licenses. So we've been trying to work to correct that, because that might make the difference between that person getting that job or not. So, but it's another soft skill that you would just assume that it was there, but not necessarily.
Can I see anybody on Zoom have a question?
No, never mind.
Not at the moment. Yes, sir.
So, yeah, I think my question is a little bit relevant to this too, in that, I mean, Somerville is definitely seeing a shift from a manufacturing to, you know, life sciences, IT, and, I see a lot of investment, from what I see, mid to kind of high level type jobs in a way that they're centered around IT technology, clean energy, biotech, construction, life sciences. But a lot of the people that we serve, at least my organization, that are leaving Royal Hospitality, American Cleaning Company, a lot of those, you know, they need other skills. You know, some of the skills or soft skills that you're talking about, and I didn't see that mentioned here. I mean, we serve about 600 families a year. A lot of them also are new immigrants, which is another category that is not listed here. What they need right away is jobs and housing. And, you know, some of the core skills that we work on center on the basics, resume writing, navigating the internet for a job, dressing for an interview, for an actual mock interview. And we've seen a lot of our families being able to gain those jobs, but without funding, it's gonna be really hard to support those families. So, and one of the things that we're also doing is in conversations with Justice Start is that in order to get to a program with Justice Start, you need to have basic English skills as well as digital equity, which is something that we're transitioning to. But, you know, I think there needs to be support for those pre-training, which is what I call to get into Justice Start. So supporting a pre to get to Justice Start and then evolve to something else is something that I didn't see here, which I think is really necessary.
Okay, great, thank you, appreciate that suggestion. Okay. All right, we're shifting into back on where we should go. I just want to make sure that, are there any clarifying questions on where we've been? Yeah.
I have Marcy Wilsonville, and just had a question about the good municipal jobs training.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if that's sort of a mapping of where there are openings and then the skills that are needed, and is it providing training to folks that are not municipal employees, and that's.
Yeah, that's the idea behind the program. We laid it out, so that way the proposers would need to, actually do that mapping, and tell us where the in-demand is. And create partnerships with, Somerville and the union to make sure that we've, got a pathway for folks once they are, in the training and through the training. And what else are your questions?
I think you answered.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's definitely part of the program, and then hopefully we can get it on the ground soon, because we're excited to launch that one. Okay, great. So, we are.
I just
Oh,
want
question
to list a couple of things. We have Jessica from Union Square Main Street saying, comment more than a question. Thank you, JCRT, for recognizing local small businesses as vehicles for creating quality jobs for our neighbors. This addresses a number of summer vision goals. Kudos.
Yeah.
And that's.
Thank you.
Okay, great.
Okay. Few questions like that coming. All right, so where are we going here? All right, so we want to move into, I think it's on the next slide, the public input to inform our future investments. And as I mentioned, just a couple of examples of how we've used public feedback in the past to shape our investments. The increased funding for training participant stipends. That usually doesn't happen in training programs across the country. So the stipend thing is pioneering the way for future job training programs. So we're very proud of that. And then, as I mentioned, the Somerville Good Municipal Jobs Training Program. So we want to get your feedback. We've got a couple of questions that we would like for you to weigh in on, and I think they might be on the next slide. Or the next slide. Here we go. So, given the limited funding picture that we laid out, so we've got $2.7 million. It's probably going to come in within the next year based on that second half of the payments of buildings that have already been built. And that's all the funding that we project for the next year or two or three, because developments have slowed down. Which of the past, present, or the obligated funding ideas are most aligned with the current and future needs of the Somerville community? And there's a little worksheet coming around that actually has the 2 slides that we showed up there, that show our current investments and those obligated investments. If you like those ideas, just circle them on the paper and hand it back to us at the end of the meeting. If you've got other ideas that you want to share with us in a written way, go ahead and use that, the little box at the bottom, or use the back. And of course, you're more than welcome to verbally share with us ideas that you have in this meeting. And then are there any other investment ideas outside of the ones that you've already presented that you would like us to consider?
Oh,
Yes, Ms. Diane.
I have my hand raised. Okay, so my thought about, what we're talking about, it comes between somewhere in those two. I'll make it fit, those.
Okay. So 1.5.
So first, let me say, my name's Diane Wong, so anybody, I know almost everybody in this room. I was shocked to come in here and I actually see people that I know, so.
You're popular.
That must be it. So I am, the founder and director of the Racial Justice Collaborative. And that is, we are, as of November 5th, an official 501c3 nonprofit. You wouldn't know how much effort that takes. So, but I haven't been, idle as I've been here in Somerville, making Somerville my home over these past decade and a half. And that's how I know, some of you here. And in 2017, when I started a radio show on Somerville Media Center, it was called Let's Talk About Race. And so at that time, I said to people, the former mayor, every time I could see somebody, I said, let's learn to talk about race now, before we become overwhelmed with the tidal wave of issues that are race related. And so we started, and we some of those stands together. We've made efforts there. The Somerville Community Corporation has made really solid movement in that direction. The Trauma and Resilience Team, so we're on our way. So what I can say is that we're all reading the news. We all know that migrants, for a beginner, for starters, migrants, immigrants, that may go back decades. They are in danger of being thrown out of the country. And so when we talk about students and we talk about jobs, then what about when the students who have, who are all of us, and we have families who are affected, friends and neighbors and relatives, how are we going to support them? So now we have an opportunity. Let's jump in, come up with some ideas about how, let's talk about race. Because if we can't talk about race, then we're just, floundering, wondering, what can we say, what can we do? We don't want to open our mouths and say anything, we might say the wrong thing. That's done, that's over, and that's old. We're going to talk about race. So the second thing, there are programs, there are BIPOC, Black, Indigenous, people of color, emerging programs that came out of, even one I know of came out of the ARPA grant. So we've got, Black, Indigenous, and people of color coming together to talk with Somerville. Let's support that, let's encourage that, let's bring that forward. Let's have more programs in the trust and resilience. Let's have racial resilience. Everybody join that. We all need that. So, good jobs, good union jobs. So the final thing, and I always want to say this, what we really need is a vision. I mean, we need a vision. All of us in this room, we need a vision. We need to all buy into a vision so that we've got union jobs, we've got developers, we've got builders, we have nonprofits. How do we all come together and join together and create a vision amongst ourselves and then move forward? Yes, a lot of things take money.
some things take commitment. And
All right, thank
so
you.
let's do that. So that's all I have to say.
Okay, appreciate it, thank you.
Yeah.
Other ideas?
Can I just respond to?
Sure, of course.
From the perspective of the board member. The vision for the Jobs Trust came out of the struggle for local hire. You know, we wanted to have employers commit to local hire. And I don't think we had a percentage in mind, but we wanted some transparency around who you're hiring, and where they're from Somerville and contiguous communities. And we brought that forward to the city council at the time, the board of aldermen. We couldn't get it passed. Concerns about the legality of trying to do that. And as a kind of a compromise from that vision came the idea for the workforce development, jobs training, as a compromise. And then the talent equity playbook was the envisioning process. When you speak of vision, the vision for what we do is articulated in that talent playbook, which I think is getting a little stale. In other words, that's a 2018 document, actually was crafted more in 17, right? It took a while to get it published, I reflect. So, you know, that's a few years old now. And so, I like your idea of, you know, let's re-envision the mission, a bit more and have more input into our playbook.
And this is not just starting from scratch right now. A year ago or so, we did a labor spring program. Some of you were there. And that was kind of an envisioning of what it would mean to bring everybody together and then start to develop ideas that we move forward with. I mean, we can start with that.
Yeah.
We can start in here.
William, do you know what that is, or can you share that? Because that would be a good.
Yeah, Randy, the labor spring program did in 23 for, it was, remember we had.
I remember it, but.
We had developers and all was there, we had everything, and we all talked about what we needed to move forward. It's the same thing. So we have a start, and we have interest in the city of Somerville.
All right, Rand, that's your homework.
Okay, I can go back to the notes.
I have a document, I'll send it to you.
Okay, there you go.
Thank you.
Thoughts or ideas?
I want you first.
Oh,
No, you have, I already spoke, so. go
No,
ahead.
me too, me first.
All right. Yeah, again, I'm Gonzalo, Gonzalo, CEO of Somerville Community Corporation. And I'm here with Athena and Maria. You know, they're part of, you know, an ARPA funding that we received last year for women empowerment. You know, we came to a realization, we have 340 plus affordable housing units in Somerville. And when we come to realization, the majority of our household populations are single women. And Athena is our workforce development coach, and her job is to help support, you know, clients that come into our door. And what she was finding is that she was getting repeat clients coming back, mostly women, and they had taken jobs that they thought would be perfect for what they wanted, but they had quit the job because of certain reasons. And when we found out the majority of the reasons were because, you know, they didn't have, first of all, support system. They didn't have the ability to transport sometimes to the job. There was issue around childcare. And we created a women empowerment program to basically create a cohort within our building so that these women and families could work together to create a networking ecosystem where they would help and support each other. Because a lot of times they didn't know who they were. They lived in the same neighborhood, they lived in the same residencies, but they didn't connect. So our role is connecting. And I feel like our society is disconnecting a lot, and that's one of the reasons why we're not able to support each other sometimes. But sometimes we're also scared of the other, as we say. And so, one support that we would like to see would be around continuing to work for the women empowerment. We had, 2 cohorts last year, 30 participants. Maria and Athena will tell you a little bit about their story later on. But we do feel there's more to workforce development than just the technical. There's the health, the social, mental, and the support system that needs to be needed to bring somebody not just to a job, but to retain that job to support the families that are most hurt. Again, I go back to what I said before. I feel that, what I saw today is great around the technical aspects and aspirations of a city that is transitioning. But I also want to make sure that the families that have lived here the longest, that are being displaced, gentrified, are supported and can remain here with the support of this fund to provide the pre-training and post-training to help them stay, get the training that they need, but the support needs to be holistic, not just technical.
We have a couple of comments on the Zoom that I'm just gonna make space for.
Perfect.
Melanie Kessler.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Great.
Okay. So hi, my name is Melanie Kessler. I'm the Director of College and Career Readiness. I'm gonna apologize for Somerville Public Schools, excuse me. I wrote something down, so it's going to sound a little more prepared. So I apologize because this is a little more casual, but that's just the way that I'm going to make sure I say everything I want to say. So I am here today to talk about the impact and importance of the post-secondary coaches from the city of Somerville. This is my 11th year in the district, and for as many years, I've been advocating for more support for our young adults after they graduate from Somerville Public Schools. With the financial support from JCRT, the coaching positions have made a significant impact on our SPS graduates that they work with, all of whom come from low-income backgrounds. Many are also the first in their family to go to college, people of color, and immigrants, demographics which have historically been excluded from higher education and face many barriers to persistence and completion. If folks don't know that I'm sure people do, but the country has a big issue with persistence and completion once the students enter post-secondary programs, and they're winding up with a lot of debt and no degree and no ability to sort of like participate in the community. So this has been really crucial. The funding has allowed them to students to continue building skills and making progress in their education so they can be eligible for jobs that provide them financial stability and personal fulfillment, all leading towards contributions to the Somerville community. The post-secondary success coaches designed their program to work with students who need them the most. We work really collaboratively with them at Somerville High School and at Full Circle to identify students who maybe don't have a plan after graduation, have struggled in high school, or have other significant personal or financial challenges. For students attending community colleges, the coaches served as an important bridge to college. They worked individually with each student to help them complete all the steps to enroll in college. Again, if people don't know, there are some tasks, particularly for community colleges, that can't really be done while a student is still in high school, but they have to be done before they start college. And it's really tricky for someone that is doing this for the first time, may not have the family support, may have a lot going on outside of this. And so the coaches have done a really amazing job learning about Bunker Hill particularly and other institutions to make sure they're sort of anticipating the next steps. It's been incredibly impactful. After students enroll in college, there continue to be challenges, personal and family issues. Students have to work many more hours than is recommended in order to keep up with schoolwork. They need to complete complicated financial aid applications every year while they're in college. They may need you know, for students who are on IEPs in high school, the process completely changes in high school. They have to advocate for it. They have to ask for accommodations. They need to really push that process through, and they need a lot of support. And then for students who are interested in entering the workforce after high school, it's also incredibly important for many, you know, union or job training programs. They require that a student already has their diploma and is already 18, not all, but some of them. And they only accept applications once a year. So it may be months after a student graduates from high school that they can actually complete this application process. And when they're not connected to the school anymore, the coaches have been incredibly useful for that. So I just want to make sure that I sort of state that they have such high engagement rates with students. The retention rates for students who are involved in this program in whatever higher education or training program they enter is much higher than like general retention rates for similar students with similar demographics in the city and definitely across the country. And the funding has just been absolutely crucial for this. We every year, the Somerville High School counselors, we have multiple students come out of the woodwork in September, October, November, who, you know, they had all their plans all wrapped up with a bow when they graduated, and something happened and they need more support, and we try our best, but you know, we also have the rest of the high school to deal with. So the coaches have been absolutely crucial in helping these students make sure they can complete their plans. And I've seen the direct impact, and the value of the service cannot be understated. And I just wanted to say that. So thanks.
Wonderful, thank you. Yes, absolutely, go ahead,
So
Rachel.
for folks who are not familiar with the program as much, Regina is one of our amazing post-secondary success coaches. Tani Salamoon, who's our other one, is on the Zoom as well. One just had the post-secondary program started as an idea 5, 6, 7 years ago. And COVID really was a major disruption for our students. And so the program evolved to really address in the immediacy of the post-COVID world. How do we help our students who were dealing with online learning get back on track and keep things moving? That COVID connection allowed us to launch this program with ARPA funding. So the program has run for the first 2 years, 2 cohorts, entirely on ARPA funding. ARPA funding, though, of course, is ending. And so figuring out what the sustainable pathway forward for funding that program is going forward is something that we are actively trying to figure out as a city and potentially with the JCRT as a partner. Want to just give that context.
Thanks, Rachel. Yeah, it's helpful. Okay, I've got Jim, Marcy, you were kind of in line. Okay, Jim?
I would love to see lots of money go to every project. So that's my first. It's amazing one. As one particular suggestion building on my question earlier, I would love to see an increased focus around durable skills training. And just so it's clear when we're talking about it, that when I'm saying that, it's things like communication skills, about teamwork and collaboration. It's about growth mindset. So it's the kind of things that employers will say, you know, training on how to use this particular point of sale system as a cashier, you know, 2 years from now, it's going to be different software. So that at the same time, that some of that specific skill training is really important. That lots of employers have listed these kinds of sort of human skills, human relationship skills as being kind of their top priorities. Like Google did that. Once people have to have the basic skill to do the job, but then what differentiates people to actually get the job and keep the job is things like being able to build strong relationships with coworkers, about having the kind of cultural competence and be able to work with lots of different kinds of people as coworkers and customers and such. So it's those kind of skills. And what I would suggest is actually a twofold approach. One would be to clarify and strengthen that piece of all of the RFPs. So just look at what is in the RFP that specifies around this and what are the funding criteria that you're using to ensure that that is part of all the projects, relevant projects that you're funding. And then as you mentioned, I could also see an additional funding, an additional RFP that would be specifically around programs that are focused around these durable skills.
Thank you for calling them durable skills too. I appreciate that. A lot of people call them soft skills and not really soft skills. They're durable, real.
Durable and they're hard.
Yeah, they're not so hard.
I wanna emphasize the skills that you're talking about.
Because a lot of your
I think about emotional resilience, because relationships, communication, they all fall down when our emotions are out of control, which is all of us all the time, right? So skills in that, recognizing the importance of that, not just reading, writing, and arithmetic, but emotional intelligence.
Yeah. You're seeing a theme here.
We have another.
Oh, do we take a short?
Sorry, we have one more virtual hand. Go ahead, I.
Hi, this is Mary Cassesso. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, thanks. Hi, everyone. I was late and didn't go up to my office, so it's not that well, the hearing, on my iPhone. So I apologize in advance if I'm repeating or maybe didn't hear some of the conversation. I wanted to add my support for the comment that Gonzalo made about serving a population that is certainly dwindling in the city of Somerville that can't afford to live here. So all of the supports and in particular working together and understanding and building family where people might not have family here. I think is so essential, and it's not that different than, I'm not sure who spoke about the coaching of young people or the mentoring. So whether it's in a workforce situation or even the high school students, having coaching and mentoring, I think is so essential, especially when you're forging new ground in your family and community. I remember so well being the first in my family off to college without coaching and mentoring, and you could have benefited so much in groups of similar people, or to have someone to discuss your ideas with. I'm especially concerned because as we read the paper with the election changes and already discussion about cuts in Medicaid and people going to work, I think people are still struggling trying to find work. And while everyone says there's ample opportunity, I'm not sure that's true for everyone. So programs that we can reach more broadly. I mean, every week I go to Foss Park and chat and try to bring goodies for the folks out there waiting and looking for work. And I know it's more complicated, but I can't believe this not something we can do. I mean, there's one person who's an electrician, and I know the city and others are always looking for electricians. And while city jobs used to guarantee you a certain quality of life, not so much anymore because we're not keeping pace. So they're just random thoughts, but I think a lot of the programs are really important. I think the durable skills related to well-being, mental health, meditation, even, and the success of mindfulness is incredible. So I underscore the durable skills. I think Justice Stat does an incredible job, and would like to see some expansion there. I think when we can afford to pay, as I thought I understood, childcare, transportation, and other costs that would help people with their schooling and training. It's so essential right now. So I took too much time. I apologize. I think that the work is more important than ever that this committee is doing. And sadly, the resources when you need them even more have dwindled. Oh, and lastly, I want to say how important I think small businesses are in the city. And lots of times they're immigrants starting a first business, and someone talked about the HR needs. It's not just HR, it's bookkeeping, it's everything, and helping that community stay in those businesses because we all benefit from them, and they make Somerville special. But it's really hard to have our own small business. Anyway, thanks for listening. It was long.
Thanks, Mary.
Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate your feedback. Thank you. Turning back to the room. Yes, go ahead.
So, again, my name is Athena Mitchell and I work at SCC as a career coach. As always said, we speak about vision, we speak about, learning the skills and everything. But in order for you can learn those things, but you need the confidence. And for me, when I work with the different people come into the office and I heard what they needed for jobs and I trained them and I gave them the skills that they needed. But I noticed when they got out there and they came back to me and talked to me, they said, I'm having a hard time, sir. And it was the confidence. The women empowerment. And I go back on the women empowerment because again, that's what a lot of people I had as my participants. They needed the confidence to be able to get out there and feel strong and feel powerful and feel like they could use their voice to get that job. And order for them to feel that way, this women empowerment group was able to give them those tools of feeling like they could express how they felt, knowing that they went to an interview and was able to speak to them because they were a person and not just really judging them, but they're able to speak to them like, I could talk to you because you are a human being and I could sell my elevator pitch to you because I'm worth this job. At the end of the day, we need to make sure that we stay supporting these people because it's needed and confidence is needed. I had to build my confidence here today because I want that confidence for them. And I have a person here that has their own testimony. For our three cohort. I'm gonna pass it over to Maria. But let her speak her truth. Yes.
So, I actually have written out a very nicely written out, sort of well thought out over a few days, and I think the more I listened, I'm gonna jump around a little bit, because what I realized is a lot of what you guys were talking about, the Women's Empowerment Group really has already started doing the work. You mentioned durable skills, it's really what we work on. So I'm gonna go back a little bit and start my whole little spiel, but I'm gonna not get through my whole spiel, because I think there's, the need is different. But, my name is Maria Kaiser. I wanna thank everyone for allowing me to speak today. I'm really kind of honored to share my journey, because I was given an opportunity to join this women's empowerment, and frankly, I was kind of like, I feel empowered, I'm a woman, we're empowered. We talk about it all the time, right? And then once I got in there, I realized, whoa, I'm really not empowered. Like, I have a lot of skills that I need to work on. And, as a client of SCC and women's empowerment in particular, it was incredible to see that as an organization, the Somerville Community Corporation stands for much more than just providing services, right? And they are a tool as an organization to give hope and to allow for the transformation of the people that come to their door. Especially people like myself, their mission in particular to promote economic sustainability, civic participation, and really provide affordable housing, digital literacy, all of the boxes that they check every day, is a reflection of the deep commitment that they have to ensure that Somerville remains a vibrant, diverse, and inclusive community. For people from all walks of life. Through their support and the tools provided by the Women's Empowerment Group, I was able to regain my confidence that I didn't realize I didn't have until I. And really take control of my future and control of the things that I wanted to achieve and the things that I wanted to do. My particular story is really one of transformation, right? I started from a place of uncertainty and fear. I felt like I was kind of stuck in this ridiculous cycle of what was going on, a situation I just couldn't escape. I was coming from a domestic violence, situation in a background that was not talked about, right? The verbs don't talk about domestic violence, nobody wants to talk about it, it makes them uncomfortable. And I didn't view myself as somebody who was a survivor of that at this time. And it had taken its toll. It had dimmed my confidence. It left me questioning what my future could actually be. And for a long time, I was really struggling to see sort of a way out and a way back to myself. I realized probably within the second week we were there that I had the power. I had the power to change my path, to rewrite my story. I found a voice I didn't know I had, and funny enough, the program didn't just give me skills and knowledge, right? We talked about all of the traditional skills that we've all discussed, but it emphasized and developed and concentrated on giving me and growing my durable skills, which has already been discussed tonight as being critical for success, right? You can be the smartest person in the room, you can be the most educated person in the room, but if you can't regulate your emotions, if you can't have a discussion with people that you don't see eye to eye with, you're not gonna succeed at it, right? And that's something that we spent the majority of the time working on, which is incredible. It wasn't always a smooth path. There were moments of doubts and setbacks and fears that would sometimes feel a little bit insurmountable. But I think SCC and the Women's Empowerment Program in particular, didn't just teach me to survive, it kind of empowered me to thrive and to embrace those not so smooth moments and to sort of give me permission to be emotionally dysregulated in a way that worked, right? And to see all of those hiccups as a positive, as a way to grow as a human. I have kids, I know, you have to tell your kids, like, you grow from mistakes. You can say that a lot. It's a little bit hard to kind of screw up at work and be like, I'm gonna grow from this. So it taught me that true empowerment isn't about the absence of fear necessarily, but the ability to face it with strength and resolve. With each step that we took as a group and as a team, because that's how I felt we were, it really helped me begin to see myself differently and to see myself as somebody who could rise above the past and create something better for myself and for my family and for my community. I think SCC and its approach to community organizing, financial education, and all the other things they can do so wonderfully helped me and all of the women that were around me really be able to build a new foundation and to taught me to reach out to my heart, right? Like that's something that I think is also hard, is to reach out and say, hey, I need help, or to lift each other up. Which Diane was just talking about a little bit earlier, like have those hard conversations, talk about race. And see yourself as a sort of a venue for change, right? I'm here as a testament, that's why I invited. To what really is possible when individuals are given the support and the opportunities that they need to succeed. The SCC and its programs, I think, and it's extraordinary too. Played a pivotal role in helping me discover that all of the strength within myself, and for that, forever grateful. They know that, to tell them all the time. But I think as Somerville continues to undergo transformation, I believe that it's vital that programs like these receive the support they need to continue empowering people like me. I'm an immigrant. I moved here when I was 13 years old and didn't speak any English. You know, it was a big old change, and I think with continued investment, the SEC can continue to help countless more individuals break free from the cycles of poverty and violence and despair, and teach people about building community and what having community can do, you know. So I hope that together you guys can help continue make the SEC and Somerville a place where opportunity is within reach for everybody, regardless of whatever they had going on before. So thank you for your time and building with our community.
I appreciate hearing from you and that first time count, so thank you so much. Public speaking is not easy, and sure, it's not easy. So,
Especially when you're so scripted and then you're.
So well, thank you, and thank you, Athena, for your great work, and Gonzalo for making the program happen.
Thank you. Let's keep it happening. These durable skills take practice.
Oh, yeah.
It's not just a quick, now you know everything. No, you have to practice.
Yeah.
Everything takes practice.
I just want to build on all this wonderful work and the beautiful testimonial and say that, you know, I too want to attest to the critical importance of sort of peer-to-peer empowerment, and collective ownership as a sort of a fundamental, part of what the RFP should encompass. So, the fact that we took, you know, the idea of career development and really prioritize and getting together for that peer support. So my background, I worked at a working capital, which is a peer group lending and savings model. And I think, so for example, the financial literacy, that could be done just simply, we're gonna do some one-on-one and educate individual people, or it could incorporate, you know, a savings, you know, which is indigenous, you know, part of many cultures is this sort of shared savings and having that matched and having that as a peer group. So incorporating that. Another example, sort of looking at emerging priority issues and can they be done in a way that supports, again, that collective effort and peer-to-peer. And just one example, which I don't know if it's feasible in the next year or two or what might happen, but you know, there's discussions about a warming center. There's a growth in people who are without housing, with emotional severe issues, addiction. Can that be done in a way that promotes ownership? Can it be, for example, in some other parts of the state of the country, they're creating centers that are like cafes where within the warming center is a small business approach to it, where people who have formerly been addicted can now do some coaching or can lead a, you know, sort of offer food or whatever it might be, and making it, being really intentional as we look at issues in the city and looking at opportunity to combine them with the job.
Great idea, thank you. And you said online, there's some comments?
Just some written comments, Jessica, this was 30 minutes ago, so a different copy. This prioritized for reports to mitigate impacts from the Trump administration, threats of mass deportations. Many of our local businesses in particular employ beautifully diverse workers who are vital members of our community. And then Mary said just a couple minutes ago, wanted to underscore durable skills and educational support for nonprofit workers supporting safety net services, housing, food security, mental health, substance use disorders, high school, and next step.
Great, thank you. Any other suggestions, ideas, for sure, take notes on the worksheet, we'll definitely incorporate those into our next meeting, we'll look at those carefully as we have in years past. Anything else from the board, any reflections?
Well, I think we've heard from a couple of people, both on the Zoom and here in person, about maybe anticipating the very brazen rhetoric from this new administration. And we should try to get in front of that, you know, if immigrants and workers are gonna be under attack, we should be anticipating that and trying to find strategies to protect people if there's going to be these kind of massive deportations. And, you know, even if that doesn't happen here in Somerville, that climate of fear and the climate of kind of like, it's okay to be aggressive towards others in ways that are just outrageous. You know, we should anticipate that element growing. I think we've heard from some people in the community about that, and I hope we bring that back to our deliberations as a board.
Absolutely. Great. Well, just wanted to ask you to provide any written comments to any of the staff or board members here before you leave. Also, if you have any additional suggestions or ideas or thoughts, you can email us at the address on the screen there, wfd@somervillema.gov. And if you would send your ideas or thoughts by 12:30 on Friday, December 6th, we can then make sure that we incorporate them into our next meeting. We have monthly meetings. Okay. Oh, and we also have an annual report that's coming out that provides information on our investments from the last year and some of the outcomes. So that'll include some of the information that's been up here and some of more, and so you can keep an eye out for that and share that with your peers and colleagues and organizations and groups that you're in. So I think I'll turn it back over to Annika to wrap us up.
Thanks, Vicki. William, who I always look to as a reminder of the rules, don't need to gavel out
Yeah.
our traditional way.
Oh, we don't?
Yes,
Really? So just end it?
we can just end it. No, I sincerely want to thank everyone on the Zoom and in person for your time, your thoughtful contributions, your insights. I took a lot of notes. I know my colleagues here on the board have been taking a lot of notes, and I look forward to percolating and reflecting on what you all have shared today and meeting as a board in a couple of weeks to discuss and digest as we look ahead to the future and future investments. So thank you all so much. Really, really, truly appreciate your input and insights. With that, we'll gavel out this meeting.
All right. Thank you, everyone.